Hey there. Just want to take a few moments to express a few things. The nature of this reality that we inhabit, as we all know, those who are on the level, it is not normal human waking life. Like, there are so many small, insidious ways that this system of life has changed everything, but so imperceptibly and without expression that it's just a difficult thing to even touch on. It's like things are too weird to ever be normal, but they're too oddly normal to point to as weird at the same time. So it's a strange, delicate balance in the world. I feel as if it's just a really tense place where we are made privy to so much, but can't really point to it at the same time. It induces a lot of silent suffering. And a concept that I've been thinking of that's quite relevant is the lack of emotion and empathy in the world. It's just gotten really fucking stagnant, and it's gotten very dim, and it just doesn't feel human anymore. It doesn't feel like it possesses emotion or any degree of sentience. Like, the world is just a cold, miserable place that we know is, but if we don't subscribe to that false reality, then we're destined to feel worse, or so we think. They don't want us to reach for deeper meaning or to dig for that enlightenment that will sustain us through this type of tepid breakdown of the world, because that's quite literally what it is. It's the way of the world and everything being ruined internally, but it's still keeping on. Like there's still enough things happening to constitute life being, I guess, the life cycle still being lived, but at the same time, it's enough detriment and harm to our minds that none of us can fool ourselves. Ultimately, at the end of the day, we're going to have to point to how we feel in some manner. And I can't help but feel like so many emotions and experiences in life are being held back, that when they do become unleashed upon the world, it will be a catastrophically bad thing in many cases, rather than it being a soul search that comes up with something more than just bare hands. You know, we all need to look at the nature of life is that it's lessening. Things are not getting more elaborate or compounded upon. They're being regressed. They're being lessened. Less things are being said about all of this event happening of such a monumental nature. Less, being said about it, not more. So that's a problem. That's a troubling precedent that we all seem to get worse at talking about things that bother us, and we get worse at stopping the trend of normalizing harm to each other. Human beings are weaponized against each other now in this new reality, where we are all motivated and urged by the wrong entity on this planet to do the wrong thing. It's a pretty simple concept, good versus evil, and I don't know how to say it without sounding theatrical or like it's some kind of made-up storyline, but we are quite literally enduring a spiritual existential phenomenon that very few can respond to or even see for what it really is. But that's why we are different. If you actually view life on different terms now and see that the surface level is there to confuse us and to keep us bogged down from our real purpose, then that means you are on the level of thinking that's required to live through this. Because we can't help but be exposed to information and stimuli that will either warp our minds or motivate us to think differently. I would say the effect of trauma and fear-based mind control on the public on a large level is by and large going to stop many things from happening and keep the trend of mum's the word. It will encourage that. But what we're enduring is an ongoing saga. At least in my life it is. I refuse to believe that it's not. It is too real to me, and it has had too much of an impact on me mentally and spiritually to ever discount as meaningless or lacking in significance, because it is the most monumental event, really, in my mind, of all time. That's the way I view my life, is that my environment and the world around me is not going to encourage me to dig deep into figure things out and to understand life on a deeper level. They are wanting to keep us droned out in those familiar motions that take us nowhere other than familiar parts or perhaps the wrong road traveled. So we need to always look at our environment and what the universe is trying to orchestrate, because the universe is curated by evil and is guided by the wrong type of intelligence. It is quite literally a complex nightmare of epic proportion. I imagine that this generation of people, many are just going to have complex PTSD as a result of this type of interference in their life, the type of harassment, and just the way of the world changing around us all. It's designed to make us depressed but keep us repressed about it, and to never vent or heal in a meaningful way. So don't be like the world, be different, and try to use your mind, because this is going to test people like me that are sentient, that feel and sense everything, you're going to be tested, and it's going to be a largely unpopular thing if you ever are to break out of this matrix and see life for what it is and want to do things that your overlords don't want you to do. Then you're going to have some difficulties, but hopefully it's a challenge that you progress through and you aren't just a victim of the system of life that's engineered to stop you from living and actualizing who you actually really are. So hopefully that hits home for somebody seeing this, that you're not the only one enduring this type of phenomenon. It's prevalent, it's just not easy to figure out how we all communicate about it. It's like we're all destined to suffer a similar fate and the same type of life experience, but to keep us from ever connecting about it, because that would give us too much power as people if we all came together and showed solidarity on this very, very decisive matter that is quite easily manipulated. Like, you know, the outcome is always easily manipulated. We're living through a rigged game that we're going to have to reinvent the rules to a little bit. So try to do what you can later on.